Welcome to today's podcast interview. I brought on Agi Keramidas. Agi, welcome.
Heather, thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to speak with you.
Now, you are originally from Greece, but living in the UK. I think you might be my first Greek guest, so I'm excited to have you on. For those that are new to you, please give a little background. What do you do and where do you live?
That's great. Yes, I am Greek, and it's an honor to be the first Greek in your your podcast. I live in England. I am a dentist by profession. This is my background. However, what I'm doing and I'm passionate about is I'm a podcaster, a knowledge broker, a mentor, and very recently an author as well. So it is all my passion and mission is all about inspiring, passing knowledge, inspiring positive change via my podcast or my message. That's in a very, very briefly what I am doing right now to answer your question.
Well, and your podcast is called Personal Development Mastery. Something we both agreed on in our pre-call was the idea of knowledge alone is not power. Application is, experience is. And so I'd love to start there. What is this idea of personal development mastery? Because it's $1 billion industry.
And I will agree with you that that common notion that knowledge is power is completely false. Knowledge is, I will say, it's useless if you don't do something with it. It doesn't have knowledge is power only when it is applied towards something. So on its own, it's not. And the mastery, the personal development mastery, first of all, I see that as a journey rather than a destination. It's not, and that has taken me a long time to realize. I thought that it was something to be attained, to be achieved, to be reached at a point, and now I have mastered. And maybe you can master the guitar after a period of time and truly become a master, but personal development, I think there is a difference there, and it is something that inevitably it is lifelong, it is ongoing, and it is all, about bettering not only ourselves, but through ourselves, our environment, and, doing this ripple effect to the people and the environment around us. Does that answer your question, or did I think I took it in a different direction a little bit?
Well, I want to know. I completely agree. And that's also my own mindset shift I've had more recently that I think we're conditioned to believe, especially think about school, right? We're always hitting targets and it's like we quote achieved, and then we're searching for that next achievement, that next goal, this always moving target. Where I think of this, especially entrepreneurship, but this is a long game. There is no destination. Like each moment, and something we talked about is this is creating a lifestyle. This is about consistency, and otherwise you fall trap in autopilot. So I'd love to talk about that, the idea of consistency and daily rituals, and love to hear about what you're doing.
Sure. Consistency, first of all, I think it is one of the most important elements that lead to success, to fulfillment, to greater things. The consistency, and we were talking about that before we started recording, being both of us prolific podcasters and having this consistency to, keep on putting these episodes out week after week, month after month, year after year. So consistency, it is the cornerstone, I believe. It is our success. Let's talk about success, but it applies to other disciplines as well. It will come from building on these routines, on these actions, on these habits, if you want, that you do them every day. It does not, it might appear that once success happened very fast, very rapidly, or overnight, as the term is, the overnight success. But it takes years to become an overnight success. That's what I believe, and the consistency is absolutely required. Otherwise, you won't last through those years. You won't last through the disappointments, through the challenges, through the whatever internal blockages you might have. All of these need the consistency, which leads to momentum, which is a great power in these things, because the more momentum you get, the more powerful all this that you're doing, whatever that is, becomes. So consistency is extremely important. I don't think you can achieve much without consistency, by breaking something and then starting something else and then something. You have to be consistent 100%.
Let's talk about the idea of one percenters, because how easy it is. Well, one, a lot of people don't even get started. But for those who get started, but have the shiny object syndrome, they're chasing that next high and they don't stay consistent with anything. Let's talk about, just as an example, the statistics on podcasters.
Yeah, that's a great example with the podcasts. Even though there are some millions out there, 4 or 5 millions, when I checked, million. The vast majority, and I think it is over 60% or close to 70%, quit before they reach even 10 episodes, which is insane. If you think about it, they go all through this preparation and work, and they put something out, and then before 10 episodes they stop, they quit. And of course, if we go to higher numbers, like 1 and 200, there is a very, that probably 1% is accurate to say, of the podcasts that do that. So consistency will lead to that, but of course consistency will require some ingredients, and I think one of them is really the desire and the passion about what you're doing, or the enthusiasm. I think that's a very precise word that, for me personally at least, I get my consistency and the discipline in my actions because there is this enthusiasm, because there is this inner drive that makes me wake up in the morning and do record my podcast and do these things that I enjoy doing. So this fuels, shall we say, my consistency, this internal desire. And that's, again, I think it's something important to realize, because we can't really be consistent to that extent anyway, to something that stifles us, something that is really, we feel like, I have to do it and be consistent at it. But the 1%, it is simple to do the actions that will take you to the 1% of whatever it is. They are very simple, but they're not easy. And anyone that has tried it knows that when you don't feel like it, but you still do it anyway, it is simple to say, well, I will take a break today and start again tomorrow. That's it is very easy to do it like that. So it's not about difficulty. I think it is. No, it's not about complexity. It's quite simple. It is the the commitment and the discipline to stay on track and do the action even when you don't feel like it.
Okay, well, let's break it down then, because I agree that changing your life is simple, but you're right, it's not easy, because we're creatures of habit and potentially years, if not decades, thinking and being one way. But in order to course correct and change the trajectory, you're going to have to start thinking and being a new way. And that's the overcoming yourself. So I'd love to hear from you the idea of, being a 1%er. What are these, quote, simple steps or strategies to create the change in your life?
It's a great question. I'm wondering where to where to begin. I think one thing I would begin, and we touched upon it earlier on, was the daily consistency or habit or routine of some kind. And you mentioned it, but we are, if we think about it, we are the sum of the routines that we perform, during the day. Most of us, anyway. Very few people have completely different day after day, but most of us, there is a sum of actions that we do every day or most days that constitute our day, and if you extend that, our life. Really, that's what it consists of this actions or habits. And many of us don't really realize that they are habits, but so that will require a first level of some self-awareness of what is it that I'm doing with the day, and not just, the phrase is that you let the day run you. If you if you allow the day to run you, then at the end of the day you don't even know what happened. There hasn't been much awareness. So becoming aware first of all of what happens through your day is a great step, and then you can take some action to be more deliberate, be more intentional with some of those action blocks or habits that you do every day, and exchange some that probably have been happening for many years and they do not serve you anymore. If only we take the time to examine them and realize them, and then take one or two. I believe this is easier to do than a radical change of the whole day. So putting little things in place, and when I say little things, I mean replacing a habit that is disempowering or limiting or not serving us anymore, and replacing it with a more intentional, deliberate, powerful habit. For example, I'll give an example what I mean. Do some exercise in the morning or meditate in the morning. I believe these two are very empowering habits for not only for your day that is going to follow, but generally the more you practice it, the more you reap benefits and compounding benefits, I think. So these are just a couple of examples. There are many we can discuss.
Yeah, and I think that was a great start. So I'm going to highlight the three things you said. Number one, it comes down to that self-awareness. You have to become aware of how you're showing up. Number two, create some sort of deliberate intention or action daily. And number three, replacing those disempowering beliefs or habits. Something I want to note, a statistic I have heard is that 86% of people, the first thing when they wake up is look at their phone.
Oh.
And if you're doing that, the first thing you do is grab your phone, go to social, check emails, whatever. You are already falling trap into living in autopilot and letting other things dictate your attention and focus. So
Yes.
even if it's 20 minutes in the morning to get some movement, a mindfulness practice, journaling, meditation, whatever, if you could even start there, setting an intention for the day, practicing gratitude, anything of that sort, I believe that alone is a great place to start to change how you're showing up.
There are what you mentioned. There are two things, in my opinion, that are certain to ruin your day. So I didn't know about the statistic that it was 86%. That's tragic. I mean, I didn't realize it's so high. But yeah, there are two things that ruin your day. The first one is what you said, to start checking emails, Facebook, and seeing what the rest of the world is doing, completely ignoring your day.
Yeah.
The other thing, which is probably even worse, is hitting the snooze button, which is,
Yes.
for me, that really sets the tone for the rest of your day, because that is the first decision you take in the day. Your first decision is, I'm going to stay cozy for another 9 minutes or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That, whether we know it, whether we realize it or not, it really sets the tone for other decisions that we will take through the day. We will take the comfortable route rather than, what's good for us. We set an alarm at 6, get up at 6. That's why you set the alarm at 6. If you wanted to sleep until 10 past 6, then set it at 10 past 6. For me, it's as simple as that. Snooze is a terrible habit.
Okay, let's talk about that, because you're right. That's something, okay, I'll just hands up. When I worked in corporate, but it's because I wasn't excited to wake up. I just knew it was another monotonous routine day. I used to, and this was back in 2017 when I quit corporate, I hit snooze every morning 2 to 3 times. That's just what I did. But
Hmm.
again, if you're hitting snooze as the first action of your day, you're procrastinating, you lack follow through. And a big thing I hear is that people don't, quote, trust others. The truth is, you don't trust yourself. Augie, have you heard the saying, how you do anything is how you do everything?
Yeah,
So
agree.
if you're starting the day procrastinating, snoozing, have nothing, you're not excited to wake up, it is time to create some change in your life.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
Okay.
I've snoozed as well. I mean, I'm not, I will hold my hand up as well. I have done it many times, but I find that uh, it makes a big difference when when you discipline yourself, because it will require a level of discipline. It's
Yeah.
not easy. It's easier, again, like we were saying, it is easier to hit the button and sleep some more. But what good does that make? But I can't see of any, real benefit. It's not like you get into any restorative sleep in the next 8 9
Right.
minutes. You have at the very best a light sleep, which won't really do much in terms of adding quality to your sleep. It's just, it ruins your. It's what you were saying also, that decision, that the easy decision.
A word you just said, I would love to expand on because I think there's actually some negative connotation. And I literally read this in a book last night. I loved a new perspective and shift. But I
Okay.
feel like when people say the word discipline, self discipline, that it's a negative thing. And especially, I believe in the work we do, it is about learning to become self disciplined in your thoughts, in your emotions, in your habits, and your actions. I would love to hear your perspective and definition. What is discipline?
Discipline is the ability to do what you said that you would do, even if that mood that when you said it is not there anymore. If you don't, in other words, even if the circumstances are different, or the way that you feel is different, it is the ability to do you said what you said that you would do, and it's not a bad thing at all. It's a very empowering thing. It's not
Right.
easy, but you feel good. I will tell you personally, every time that I do keep my discipline, I feel really good about myself. My self worth or my self esteem goes up, because I prove to myself that I can do what I said that we do, and not take the easy way out and find an excuse and not do it, which it's quite easy, frankly. So
Yep.
it builds up. I know there are negative connotations about the word, like it is like a burden or something like that. But I don't see it. I see it as a absolutely essential component in growing as a person, and doing stuff. I mean, how, I can't even imagine without discipline what can you do in life. I don't think you can do much.
Well, and another way I speak about it is you can live life by design or by
Hmm.
default. And every
Yes.
day you're choosing. Okay, here's what I want to talk about now, the idea of mastering yourself, self mastery. Augie, what does that mean?
If I were to put it, the way that comes up to me right now would be a sense of fulfillment that you have done or fulfilled your purpose. And when I say your purpose, I mean the reason why you're here on this world. So self mastery is that journey. Again, it is a journey, not a destination, of realizing our true potential, or our true nature, or who we truly are and what we are truly here for,
Yeah.
and um, bringing that out, living that. And that's how I see it. There are many other definitions I would give, but this came uh, intuitively now that you asked me.
Okay, on that note, I have a question for you because I
Yes,
literally spent my 20s and I going through corporate, doing what I
yes.
was conditioned to do, cultural programming. And I
Hmm.
literally used to Google, what is my purpose? What am I passionate? Like, how do I find my purpose? And I think that's
Hmm.
talked about a lot and it feels overwhelming or heavy for individuals. But I guess for me, to frame it differently is what is your definition of success? What brings you joy? And maybe there's purpose in that. And so I'm curious, what do you mean to find your purpose? And do you have any ideas or tangible takeaways to help somebody find their own?
Yes, it's a great question. The the purpose I see it. First of all, I have also went into a quest of my own in the past, trying to find it as such. But I realized that you can't find it. It's not somewhere waiting to be found. The
Yeah.
purpose is more to be created. It's like to be composed, if you want. It's your daily actions that create the purpose. So it's. I think it's a distinction that really takes away the pressure that I might not be able to find it. It's nowhere to be found. We make it. We create it. Uh, in terms of what could someone do to explore or discover or uncover that, I would say follow your curiosity.
Mm,
Do something, maybe if there is something that intrigues you, that you would love to give it a go. I think that is a good place to start. That might not be your purpose, but by following things that intrigue us, we're certainly much in a much better route to discovering and living our purpose
yeah.
than doing something that does not fulfill us, and we feel empty at the end of the day, and we're looking for the weekend every time. That's definitely, it doesn't sound like a purpose.
You know what's coming to mind? I remember my first coach, who was actually through Tony Robbins' organization. He reminded me to be more childlike.
Mm.
And if you even shift your perspective into, I get to be here. Like I chose to come into this avatar, this body, right? This
Mm.
vehicle on planet Earth. Like what's my zone of genius? What did I love doing as a child? And what I shared with you before we were recording. As a little girl, my dad built me a playhouse for my 7th birthday. And I used to torture my brother and my cousins. I was always the teacher and I loved teaching,
Mhm.
only to find out when I got to college, they made 35 grand a year. And I was like, oh, that's not going to work for me.
Mm.
So I went after money instead of passion and quote purpose. Did that for 10 years. And then I still got redirected back into something like my soul's desire, which is teaching. And for me, this is simply my angle. For somebody else, their purpose could be to be an amazing parent or a community member. Like it doesn't have to be this big, hairy, audacious goal and to be a quote influencer, right? Figure out what lights you up and maybe quote comes naturally.
Absolutely, and it doesn't have to be a grandiose purpose
Yeah.
for sure. If something fulfills you and you feel good in yourself doing that, then I think the quest for purpose starts with people that do not have this sense of fulfillment. There is this kind of discontent, this emptiness, this there is something missing in my life. That's what the triggers this search for meaning, for purpose, for and it's very common for many people to not to focus on that in the early years, because that's how we've been conditioned, I suppose, and to look for external success, money and good job and this and that.
Yeah.
It's so common to attain all those things and then realize that it was not about that, never. But I think we have been misled in a way to pursue those things instead of what truly is fulfilling.
Yes, I agree. Okay, I think this is a great segue because I'd love to. Something I talk about often is identity shifting, or what I call creating version 2.0, which is what I work on with my one on one coaching clients.
Hmm.
You had a paradigm shift and completely changed your trajectory, going from a dentist to a podcaster. You also shared with me that you used to be extremely shy and now you're a public speaker. So I would
Hmm.
love for you to share a bit of your journey so others can realize that no matter who they currently are, they have the ability to completely shift and change.
Absolutely, and it's very empowering when you realize that it is not. And let me give you the example of myself. What I was, as you said, very all my life until an event in Tony Robbins event in 2017. All my life until then, I was very shy, closed up. In social situations, I was quite anxious. I was not. I really couldn't speak, and I realized at that event that this was not who I was. All my life I have believed that this is who I am. I'm a shy person. I don't enjoy speaking to people I don't know. I had believed those things as if they were a part of me, and I never questioned them. That's even what really kept it going. And I realized that it was not all this, it was not an inherent part of me that I had to carry with me all the time. They were just limiting beliefs or voices. In particular, for me, it was one voice at the back of my head saying that people are not interested in what you have to say. People are not interested in what you have to say. So there was this internal dialogue happening without me even realizing it. All right, that's the thing. And it was at that time when I became aware of that. Oh my God, that's why I don't speak to people.
Yeah.
And then I took the steps to change. So I believe 100% wholeheartedly that we can change even things that we might think that they are very difficult to change. If we want to change them, we can. Uh, and it is important for me because not everything needs to be changed, all right? But for me, it helped when I projected my life 10 years ahead, 20 years ahead, or going even to my deathbed and looking back at my life, living, carrying on these beliefs or this way of, not speaking to people. And that really gave me a tremendous feeling of bitterness, regret. It was, I really realized that I didn't want to live my life like that because I knew that I had valuable things inside of me to share, but because of that belief, I would never share them. And that would also hurt, apart from my social skills and social situations, it would also hurt my self belief because I would not get any validation from other people about my ideas because they were the best kept secret. So I took a long-winded answer to your question, but I wholeheartedly believe that yes, you can change the thing that it is that you would like to change. It might not be, an overnight thing. It might take time, but it can be done, and by all means.
Well, and to highlight what you shared is that internal dialogue. And I see a huge pain point for most people is self doubt. And self doubt is
Mm,
keeping people playing small in monotony, going through life's motions. And I mean, that was something, especially in entrepreneurship. And sometimes I still have little inklings of it. But when I started out, I had a lot of self doubt, imposter syndrome, procrastination. Who am I to do this? And then guess what I did to shift it for me? I stopped making it about me. And it was that whole
mm,
find your why. And my why was I just wanted to help. If I could help one person who had been in my shoes, self doubt, going through life motions, then I would feel fulfilled. And that
yeah.
became my driver to create content, to do podcasting, to do all the things because I stopped making it about me. Something,
it's a great shift, that one, when you
yeah.
take the for me, that example, if I will add that very quickly, it was when I was doing public speaking. I realized that if I take the focus out of how well I will perform, if
Mm,
I take my focus out of that and put it on how can I serve these people, it takes all the, the stress away, because it's not about me anymore and my performance as such. It's about service.
yes. Okay, something I want to touch on because this is something I love, and the fact is we all do it every single day, whether or not we're aware of it. But let's talk about quote manifesting and how there's a fine dance of like action and surrender and what that means to you.
It is indeed, you've said it beautifully, the fine dance of action and surrender. Both are necessary. I think the action also involves a bit of surrender, depending on the actions that you take. But yeah, the manifesting will require, and we were talking about that before we started talking, that before we started recording, that many people believe that it is only a matter of surrendering or receiving, or keep visualizing it and writing it down and expecting something to appear. From my experience, it involves the actually doing or taking action on the synchronicities that will come, on your ideas, inspirations that will come when you are in that
Yeah.
let's say receiving state, or the surrendering state. Things will happen either internally, ideas, or externally, some people or phone calls or whatever. There will be it's inevitable that you will need to do something with these ideas or these people. It's so I liked it very much, the way you said that,
Yeah.
the dance between action and surrender. And I wish I could give you an answer that would really encompass everything about this topic, but it's so big and so beautiful. So I think I will leave it to what I just said for now.
Well, here's what I'd like to share on the idea. When it comes to manifesting, I feel that most people are very attached to the outcome. For
Mhm.
example, it's
Yeah.
going to take me 2 years. It's going to take me 5 years. And because we create from past experiences, we come from a very limited perspective. Instead, and this is what quantum physics would teach us, it is way more important for you to quote align with it emotionally via your thoughts, your feelings. Neville Goddard taught this. Living from the end of your desire, no matter your circumstances, and then taking action, not
Mhm.
focusing on the how, but maybe the little steps in front of you. As you said, the synchronicities, the things that will come your way, oftentimes way better than you could have planned or expected, and also a lot faster. So that's what I just want to touch on, the idea of manifesting. And
Mhm.
um something I you said you had this in a podcast, your own guest, but what does an abundance mindset mean?
But mindset out all the limitations that we have. It's a great question, and I'm trying to think how I can. It would. I would certainly. It would certainly involve removing all the limitations, and would. An abundance mindset would be a realization that you are not separate from everything else. You are part of everything else. So therefore, it's all here anyway. It's about attuning to all of that, realizing
Mm.
all of that. Yeah.
Okay, a question I asked you, if you remember, what is a billboard message you would give to humanity?
Uh, you are not your thoughts. That's what I would say. And
Yeah.
we very often, if not the vast majority of time, sadly, we are very much identified with this constant stream of thinking, or that internal dialogue. I used that phrase earlier. I believe it's very accurate because there is a dialogue going on. You just
Yeah.
need to pay attention. You realize that there are different voices or things being said anyway, not voices as such. So you are not your thoughts. These thoughts, yes, they do happen most of the time. I think there's about 70, 80,000 thoughts we have every day. Most of them are completely repetitive and completely automatic.
Yeah.
It's like, a CD playing over and over again, the same songs, and we're not even paying attention to it. So it's, I think, one of the most important steps one can take in realizing more about, the truth of who they are. And I mean, as a person or as a human being, is that realization that I am one thing and my thoughts are a different thing.
Yeah.
And I am not my thoughts. So if my thoughts tell me that I am a shy person, as I was saying earlier, to realize that this is a thought, it is a voice in my mind. It is my mind. I'm something else. I'm not that. And I think becoming aware of this distinction, or detaching from the identification with this constant stream of thinking that takes us to, the past, the present, whatever, anything but what's right in front of us. I think that is a very big step, and that's why I would put it in a billboard. I think it would also provoke some thinking, even just these few words. Thank you for the
Yeah.
question.
I have thoughts, but I am not my thoughts.
Yes.
That's quite a perspective shift. Here's what I want to ask you, since we are so big on application and implementation. What do you believe is a key takeaway you want listeners to get?
Based on what we said today, I will go back to, we mentioned it, but I'm going to repeat it. So I really want to establish that please stop pressing the snooze button when you wake up, and please don't look at your phone for at least half an hour. I'm sure you can do something more deliberate and empowering with your day than checking what random people do on Instagram or whatever your dopamine hit is at that time in the morning. I think that is, uh, it's up to you what you want to do. Do you want to meditate? Do you want to exercise? Do you want to read something empowering? I don't mind. That is, it's up to every person to figure out what empowers them and build it into their day. But I think it
Yeah.
is a matter, as I was saying earlier, our daily habits constitute our day, therefore they constitute our life. So we start from these small 5-minute things or 10-minute things that we do, and we work on them, and then we everything else around that improves as well. It might not happen in 2 days,
Yeah.
and that's where the consistency we were talking about, and the
Yep.
discipline, and the surrendering that we said. Some things will take longer than we would like them. So be it. It happens as it does for a reason.
Yeah. I agree. Those are great places to start. I have a few
Mhm.
questions to wrap up the interview for you.
Sure, sure.
First one, what is a quote or motto that you live by?
Life is happening for you, not to you. I think it goes well with what we were saying.
Yes. And you know what? Because I know that's big Tony Robbins quote.
It's
Something I'd like to expand on. I come from even a different viewpoint that life is happening through you.
through. Hmm.
But yes, it
even
is
better.
happening for you. So even the obstacles and challenges that we face, it's like it's to evolve and grow through, not
Mhm.
become victim to.
Exactly.
What is a
Yes.
book that you're currently reading or highly recommend?
There is a book that I read all the time. When I say all the time, I mean every day as a habit, a daily routine. It's called The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday. I've been reading it for years, not only 2 minutes every morning,
Yeah.
but it gives some incredible perspective on a daily basis. It's one page a day, and it gives some incredible perspective on the art of living, how to live well. It's a book I would certainly recommend.
Final question. What advice would you give your younger self?
Be true to yourself and follow what you're passionate about, and don't allow the thoughts or the voices of other people to deter you from pursuing what you know it's in your heart, even if it is your closest people.
Yeah.
Listen to what they have to say, but follow what your inner wisdom, and believe in yourself.
And such a great note to end on. Augie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Heather.